All right. So we're talking about Unit 15 in Hansen and Quinn. We're talking about reflexive pronouns, okay? This is an important concept to distinguish from one thing that we already know, which is remember the word αὐτός, which has three different meanings. When it's in attributive position, as in ha αὐτός anthropos, or ha anthropos ha αὐτός, or anthropos ha αὐτός, as long as there's an article in front of it, it means same, okay? When it's in predicative position, that is, when it agrees with another noun in the sentence but doesn't have an article before it, like ha anthropos αὐτός, okay, you've got the noun there, and the article is there, but there's the noun between the article and αὐτός. That αὐτός, the predicative position αὐτός, means himself, herself, itself, ourself, yourself, themselves. Okay, it's a intensifying adjective. Whoops.
I think that's going to be on our screen.
Is it not going to be on the screen? Okay.
I mean, we have to move it down.
Okay. So we want to make sure we distinguish the notion of a reflexive pronoun, which is not actually a noun, okay, and the intensifying adjective that means himself, herself, itself, themselves. Because in English, the reflexive pronoun is himself, herself, itself, themselves, ourselves, and yourselves. And yourself. So the difference is that the reflexive pronoun is actually a noun, okay, and it's not an adjective. Whereas αὐτός in predicative position is an adjective only, okay. Not only that, but how if you look at the reflexive pronoun, let's start with the first one. How do you say myself? As in, I like myself. Okay, that's the direct object of the verb like. It's a noun. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Those words. How do you make a reflexive pronoun in Greek? Well, the way you say myself, the noun, is emauton. Okay, so if we give the inflection of it, which the book does, we can write this down. The genitive is emautou. Okay, the dative is emauto. This is the masculine forms. Okay, the accusative is emauton, and then the feminine forms, and there is no neuter reflexive pronoun, I guess. It's emautes. Okay, emaute. I'll slow down. Emaute with an iota subscript, and emauten. Okay, you can see that this is it really starts in the accusative. It's just a monging together of the accusative singular eme with the adjective auton. So it means literally me, myself. Okay, so that's a noun, me, myself, as opposed to just the word myself, which is an adjective in English as well as a noun, okay? But literally, that's what we're talking about is, and emauton is a thing that can only be a noun because it's composed of a pronoun and an adjective, okay? So these words mainly occur in the singular. They're not terrifically common in Greek, okay? If you look at, the book gives you, let's look at the singular forms, okay? There's myself, up there on the screen, and then there is yourself, which is se auto, and se auton, okay? We're writing it out this way. Whoops.
I always do that.
Yeah. Se autu, se auto, se auton, and then the feminine one is se autes, se aute, and se autein, okay, which is you yourself, becoming the noun yourself, okay. Often in this word, and it's a dialectal feature, in Ionic Greek it looks like that in Attic. You have se, and you can see the se and the autu. But what happens is that they collapse into each other. You lose the e altogether. You get what's called a crossus, and you get sao tu, okay? Sao tu, sao to, sao ton, sao te, sao te, sao tain, okay? More often than not. So you got to be prepared for the missing epsilon there when you see it. You also have a third person version of this. We look at that, which is he tu, okay? And I'll tell you about this in a second. There's no nominative. Yeah, you don't have a nominative of a reflexive pronoun even in English, right? So if you think about it, there is no need for it. What you do is you do I, myself, right? And in Greek, you just do the form of a sentence with αὐτός. You don't even ego is already intensifying. If you really want to say αὐτός, I, myself, then you could just use αὐτός. Anyhow, there's he tu. This is the third person reflexive pronoun in the singular, and it's derived from an old pronoun. We have attested in older Greek, he, which means him. Okay, so it's a compound of the adjectival of the accusative of the pronoun for he with auton, and then it spreads into the genitive and the dative. Okay, so this is, and you also have hauton. You have a collapsing of the he. Just like you see sauton, you also see hauton with an h. Oh, how to, right? Watch out, that's not the same as aŭtu, okay? That's how to, right? All right. So the first one is reflexive. The second one is just either the pronoun or the intensifying adjective or the word same. All right. Book also gives you plural forms of these. The most successful of these plurals is the one for the third person. And why don't we just put it up there before you switch screens? You can put it up there now because it's heauton, heautois, heautus, and so forth. Okay? Heautois and heautus. And then you have a feminine form, heauton, heautais, and heautas. And in the case of this form only, you get neuters itself, right? You can't have an I and a U that are neuter, because by definition they're human beings or alive, right?
Yes.
Things aren't I or U, but the third person can be an it, right? So we have plural, we have reflexive pronouns in the neuter, but not in the first and second persons. Okay, so these are, and the same is true of the neuter plural. It's the same as the neuter. As the masculine plural. So what you can see,
one, right?
You've just got the he, the word for him, that's spread all over the place, and the only thing you're inflecting is the aŭtus. Okay, on this model, that's one way of doing it. If we go back to the second person singular forms, can we switch to that screen? The plural of them is going to be not even combined really into one word. It's going to be the dative of the plural of the word for you, which is going to be humon, and then a separate word, auton, you yourselves, okay? So it's not really a lexical thing. It's humon auton, humin autois, and humas autus, okay? If you want to do the masculine forms. And the same thing goes for the first person plural. When the way you say ourselves as a reflexive pronoun in Greek is we ourselves, two separate words. So you could argue that that's just two separate words and not really the plural of seautu and emautu, okay? But the difference is not great, all right? So those are the reflexive pronouns. Again, they're a noun. So and they're not that common in Greek, but there are places where you need to be very explicit when you're saying the key thing about a reflexive pronoun, what defines it, is that the antecedent of the pronoun, we could say this, okay, is an important thing. A reflexive pronoun is defined by the fact that its antecedent is the subject of the sentence, okay? So you have to have sentences of the type, we like ourselves, or they hated themselves, okay? And so the antecedent is clear, and that's when you use them. You don't say things like that often. All right.